In the dead of night, Ryan Caldwell stood alone in his garage, the flicker of a bare bulb casting shadows across his face as he polished a kitchen knife with slow, deliberate strokes. One reckless night had changed everything. How did a single choice ignite a deadly obsession? Hey, don't forget to like, please subscribe for more shocking crime stories and hit the bell icon. The darkest truth are yet to come. Briarwood, Massachusetts was the kind of place people dreamed of calling home. Tucked along the coast, its tree-lined streets and colonial-style houses screamed wealth and stability. In 2025, this upscale suburb was all about appearances. Perfect. Lawns, charity galas, and neighbors who smiled just a little too brightly. But beneath the polished surface, secrets festered, waiting to erupt. Ryan and Megan Caldwell lived at 17 Oak Ridge Drive, their sleek modern home a testament to Ryan's success as a tech startup founder. At 38, Ryan was all charm, sharp jawline, quick wit, the kind of guy who could sell you a dream with a single grin. Megan, 36, was a pediatric nurse, her warm hazel eyes and steady hands a comfort to every kid she treated. Across town, Nathan and Elise Brooks owned a restored Victorian on Cedar Lane. Nathan, 40, was a corporate attorney, reserved but razor-sharp, his quiet demeanor hiding a knack for closing deals. Elise, 35, was an interior designer, her vibrant laugh and effortless style lighting up every room. The two couples were inseparable: dinner parties, summer barbecues, even a joint vacation to Cape Cod. To outsiders, they were the picture of friendship. But 6 months ago, one night shattered that illusion. It was a crisp October evening at the Caldwells' home, the air thick with the scent of roasted garlic and Merlot. The four sat around a reclaimed wood table, candles flickering, laughter bouncing off the walls. Ryan, always the instigator, poured another round and leaned back, his eyes glinting with mischief. "Let's play a game," he said, voice low, teasing. "Something to shake things up." Nathan raised an eyebrow, skeptical but amused. Elise, her cheeks flushed from wine, giggled. Megan hesitated, sensing a shift in Ryan's tone, but she trusted him. That's how it started. A drunken dare, a reckless idea born from too many glasses and a fleeting thrill. Ryan asked as a partner swap, Ryan suggested, half joking, half serious. Just one night, no strings, just fun. The room went quiet, the weight of the suggestion hanging heavy. Elise laughed it off, but Ryan pressed, his gaze locked on her. Nathan shrugged, game for anything. Megan, uneasy, glanced at Ryan, searching his face. "It's just a game," he whispered to her, his hand squeezing hers. Against her better judgment, she nodded. By midnight, the couples had paired off, Ryan with Elise, Nathan with Megan, retreating to separate rooms in the house. It was awkward, thrilling, and over by dawn. They swore to never speak of it again, to bury it like a bad dream. But some choices can't be undone. The next morning, the sun rose over Briarwood, but the warmth had drained from the couple's friendship. Megan couldn't shake the image of Ryan's hand on Elise's waist, his laugh too easy, too intimate. She pushed it down, blaming the wine, her own insecurities. Elise, usually so poised, avoided Ryan's eyes at the next neighborhood brunch, her smile tight. Nathan seemed oblivious, cracking jokes as always. Ryan, though, he was different. His text to Elise started innocently enough. "Had fun the other night? Then, you looked amazing." She responded politely at first, short and vague, hoping he'd drop it. He didn't. By November, he was messaging her daily, showing up at her design studio with coffee, just passing by. Elise felt a knot in her stomach each time her phone buzzed. He's just being friendly, she told herself, but his eyes lingered too long, his compliments too personal. One afternoon, she found him waiting outside her studio, leaning against, his Tesla, sunglasses glinting. "Thought we could grab lunch," he said, casual, but his voice had an edge. Elise stammered, citing a client meeting. Ryan's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Next time," he said. But as she walked away, she felt his stare burning into her back. What was he planning? Megan noticed the change in Ryan, too. He was distracted, his phone always angled away from her. Late at night, she'd catch him typing furiously, his face lit by the screen's glow. Work, he'd mutter, but his excuses felt hollow. One evening while he showered, Megan grabbed his phone. Locked. A new password. Her heart sank. Ryan had never hidden anything from her before. She tried to talk to him, but he brushed her off, his charm replaced by a sharp irritability. "You're overthinking it," he snapped when she asked about Elise. Guilt gnawed at her. She'd agreed to the swap, hadn't she? Maybe this was her fault. But doubt crept in, cold and relentless. At a charity gala in December, she watched Ryan across the room, his arm brushing Elise's as he leaned in to whisper something. Elise flinched, stepping back, her face pale. Megan's stomach twisted. What had he said to make her react like that? Elise couldn't ignore it anymore. Ryan's attention wasn't flattering, it was suffocating. His texts grew bolder. "I can't stop thinking about you. We could be something real." She stopped replying, but he didn't stop. He'd show up at her yoga class, claiming it was a coincidence, his grin too wide. One night she spotted his car, idling across from her house, headlights off. Her pulse raced. She wanted to tell Nathan, but how could she explain it without dragging up that night? Nathan would laugh it off, or worse, confront Ryan and blow their friendship apart. Instead, she called Ryan, her voice firm. "We need to talk. Alone." They met at a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town, the kind with chipped mugs and no Wi-Fi. Elise didn't waste time. "You need to stop. The texts, the visits. It's too much." Ryan leaned back, his expression unreadable. "I thought we had something," he said softly, but his hand trembled on the table. "We don't," Elise said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. He nodded slowly, but his eyes darkened, like a storm rolling in. Had she just made things worse? Ryan's world was narrowing to one point: Elise. At his startup's sleek office, he stared through meetings, her face flashing in his mind, her laugh, her scent, the way she'd looked that night. Work, once his obsession, felt pointless. He started driving by her house after dark, parking just out of sight, watching her silhouette move behind the curtains. He told himself it was harmless, just a way to feel close to her. But his thoughts, twisted, blending desire with something sharper, something he couldn't name. One night he snapped a photo of her through the window, her hair spilling over her shoulders as she read. He saved it, stared at it for hours. Megan found his journal, tucked behind his desk, its pages filled with scrawled notes. "Elise at yoga, 7 a.m. Elise likes chamomile tea. Elise is mine." Megan's hands shook as she read, her breath catching. She wanted to confront him, but fear stopped her. What was he capable of? Elise's unease turned to dread. Late one February night, she woke to a faint scratch at her window, like nails on glass. Heart pounding, she peered through the blinds. A shadow shifted in the yard. Too tall, too familiar. "Ryan." She grabbed her phone, hands trembling, and dialed Megan. "I think someone's outside," she whispered, voice breaking. "I think it's him." Megan's blood ran cold. "Stay there, I'm coming." But as Megan grabbed her keys, the line went dead. Elise's phone was off. The call dropped. Panic surged through her. She sped toward Cedar Lane, the dark streets blurring past. Elise's house loomed ahead, windows black, the front door slightly ajar. Megan's scream caught in her throat. What was waiting inside? Megan's headlights cut through the February darkness, illuminating Elise's Victorian home on Cedar Lane. The front door hung slightly open, a sliver of black beyond it. Her pulse hammered as she stepped out of her car, the icy wind biting her face. Elise had sounded terrified on the phone, whispering about a shadow outside her window. Now the line was dead. What was Ryan doing here? Megan pushed the door open, her voice barely a croak. "Elise?" The silence was deafening, broken only by the creak of floorboards under her feet. Every shadow seemed to move, every corner hiding a threat. Had Ryan snapped, or was something even worse waiting inside? The living room was dim, lit only by a flickering table lamp. Megan's eyes darted to the staircase, then the kitchen. "Elise!" she called again, louder, her voice cracking. A soft thud came from upstairs. Heart in her throat, she gripped her phone, ready to dial 911. She climbed the stairs, each step amplifying her dread. At the top, Elise's bedroom door was cracked open. Megan pushed it, revealing Elise curled on the bed, clutching a baseball bat, her face pale. "Megan?" Elise's voice trembled. "Thank God." She dropped the bat, tears spilling. "I heard someone outside scraping at the window. I think it was Ryan." Megan knelt beside her, pulse still racing. The door was open. "Did he come in?" Elise shook her head, uncertain. "I don't know. I locked everything, but—" Her words trailed off, fear choking her. Megan scanned the room. Nothing seemed disturbed, but the air felt wrong, heavy with an unseen presence. Had Ryan been here, or was Elise's panic playing tricks? The uncertainty gnawed at them both. Downstairs, they checked every lock, every window. The backyard was empty, the snow untouched except for a single set of footprints leading to the fence. Men's boots, fresh. Megan's stomach lurched. "We need to call the police," she said, but Elise hesitated, her hands twisting. "What if it's nothing? Nathan's already asking why I'm so jumpy. If we drag the cops into this—" She didn't finish, but Megan understood. That October night, the drunken swap hung over them like a curse. Reporting Ryan would mean exposing their secret, shattering their lives. Megan nodded, reluctant. "Okay, but you're not staying here alone. Come to our place." Elise agreed, grabbing an overnight bag. As they left, Megan glanced back at the house, the open door now closed. Had Elise locked it, or had someone else been there watching? At the Caldwells' home, Elise crashed on the guest room couch, exhausted but sleepless. Megan sat up in her own bedroom, Ryan's journal burning a hole in her thoughts. Those scrawled pages. Elise at yoga, 7 a.m. Elise is mine. Had turned her husband into a stranger. Ryan was still at his office, or so he'd texted. Late meeting, his message read. But Megan didn't believe it. She crept to his study, heart pounding, and rifled through his desk again. Tucked behind a stack of invoices was a small key, cold and unfamiliar. It didn't fit any lock in the house. What was he hiding? As dawn broke, Ryan's car pulled into the driveway. Megan watched from the window, his silhouette moving with a strange, deliberate calm. He stepped inside, pausing when he saw Elise's coat on the rack. "What's she doing here?" he asked, his tone too casual, his eyes too sharp. Megan lied, voice steady. She had a fight with Nathan, needed a place to crash. Ryan's jaw tightened, but he nodded, heading upstairs. The lie felt like a shield, but a flimsy one. What would he do if he knew the truth? Elise returned home that morning, determined to act normal. Nathan was back from a business trip, oblivious to the chaos. Over coffee, she tried to tell him about Ryan's texts, his uninvited visits, but the words stuck in her throat. Nathan would demand details drag up that night. Instead, she mentioned Ryan's weird vibe lately. Nathan laughed, stirring his coffee. "He's just intense. Always has been. You're reading too much into it." Elise forced a smile, but her skin crawled. That afternoon, a delivery arrived at her doorstep. A small package, no return address. Inside was a silver necklace, delicate but oddly heavy, with a note. "For you. Always." No signature, but Elise knew. Her hands shook as she checked her security, camera footage. There, at 2 a.m., Ryan stood on her porch, placing the box with a lingering glance at her door. The footage cut out abruptly, the system glitching. Had he tampered with it? Elise's fear hardened into resolve. She had to stop him before he crossed a line she couldn't come back from. Megan, meanwhile, was unraveling. Ryan's late nights grew more frequent, his excuses thinner. She followed him one evening, tailing his Tesla to a quiet street near Elise's design studio. He parked, staring at the building, his hands gripping the wheel. Megan's heart thudded as she watched, from a distance hidden behind a row of oaks. He didn't go inside, just sat there motionless for an hour. What was he waiting for? When he finally drove off, Megan approached his car later that night, parked in their garage. She found the key from his study and tried it on a locked glove box. It clicked open, revealing a cheap burner phone. Its screen cracked. The message log was a flood of unsent texts to Elise. "You can't ignore me forever. I know you feel it too." Megan's breath caught, her world tilting. She snapped photos of the screen, hands trembling, but a shadow fell across the garage. Ryan stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. "What are you doing, Meg?" His voice was soft, but his eyes were cold, like a predator sizing up prey. Had he seen the phone, or was he bluffing? Elise's anxiety was a constant hum now. She changed her locks, avoided Ryan's usual haunts, but the necklace haunted her, tucked away in a drawer like a warning. She confided in a coworker, Lila, who urged her to go to the police. "He's stalking you, Elise. This isn't a game." But Elise wavered, torn between fear and shame. That night, Nathan overheard her on the phone with Lila, her voice low, but urgent. "What's going on?" he demanded, his usual calm fraying. Elise froze, the truth teetering on her lips. "It's Ryan," she admitted finally. "He won't leave me alone." Nathan's face darkened, confusion shifting to anger. "What do you mean, won't leave you alone? Since when?" Elise's hesitation was answer enough. Nathan grabbed his keys, heading for the door. "I'm talking to him, now." Elise begged him to wait, but he was already gone. What would happen when Nathan confronted Ryan? Megan's confrontation with Ryan hung over her like a storm cloud. He hadn't mentioned the burner phone, but his demeanor shifted, colder, more calculated. He started locking his study, keeping his phone on him at all times. Megan sent the photos of his texts to Elise, warning her to stay away. Elise's reply was curt, "I'm handling it." But Megan wasn't convinced. She dug deeper, checking Ryan's laptop when he was out. His browser history showed searches for Elise's social media, her client list, even her home address. One tab chilled her to the bone, a forum on tracking someone's phone. Megan's hands shook as she copied the links, her mind racing. Was Ryan planning something worse than stalking? She needed to warn Elise, but Ryan's car pulled into the driveway earlier than expected. She slammed the laptop shut, heart pounding, and slipped out of the study. From the hall, she heard him pause, his keys jingling softly. Had he noticed the laptop was warm? The tension in Briarwood was palpable now, the couple's friendship a house of cards ready to collapse. Elise avoided social events, her vibrant laugh replaced by a haunted look. Nathan's confrontation with Ryan had been a disaster. Ryan denied everything, playing the wounded friend, and Nathan, unsure, backed off. But the seed of doubt was planted. He started watching Elise more closely, noticing her jumpiness, her locked phone. Megan, meanwhile, was living a double life, smiling at Ryan over dinner while secretly gathering evidence. One night, she found a folded photo in his jacket pocket. Elise, laughing at the gala, her face circled in red ink. Her blood ran cold. This wasn't just obsession, it was something darker, something final. She called Elise, whispering from the bathroom, "We need to go to the police. Now." Elise agreed, her voice shaking. They planned to meet the next morning. But as Megan hung up, she heard a creak outside the door. Ryan stood there, his shadow stretching across the tiles. "Who were you talking to?" he asked, his voice a blade. Megan's heart stopped. What did he know? And how far would he go to keep his secret? Ryan's shadow loomed in the bathroom doorway, his voice a low, sharp edge. "Who are you talking to, Meg?" Megan's heart slammed against her ribs, her phone still warm in her hand from the call to Elise. She'd just convinced Elise to go to the police, but now Ryan's eyes bore into her, cold and unyielding, like he could see every secret she'd uncovered. Had he heard her mention the burner phone, the photos, his obsession? She forced a smile, her voice trembling. "Just Elise. Girl talk." Ryan stepped closer, his breath hot on her face, and for a moment, she thought he'd grab her. Then he nodded, slow and deliberate, and turned away. The door clicked shut behind him, but the air crackled with danger. What would he do next, and how much time did they have? The next morning, March winds rattled Briarwood's pristine streets as Megan and Elise met at a small police station on the edge of town. Detective Laura Hensley, a no-nonsense woman with sharp gray eyes, listened as Elise recounted Ryan's texts, the necklace, the security footage. Megan handed over the photos of the burner phone, her hand steady despite the fear gnawing at her. "He's been following her, watching her house," Megan said, voice low. "I found a journal, notes about her every move." Hensley's pen paused, her gaze narrowing. "This is serious, stalking, harassment, possibly more. We'll bring him in for questioning." Elise exhaled, relief mixing with dread. But as they left the station, Megan spotted a familiar Tesla idling across the street, Ryan's silhouette unmistakable behind the tinted glass. Her stomach dropped. "He's here," she whispered, grabbing Elise's arm. Elise froze, her face paling. Had he followed them, or was he one step ahead? Back at home, Nathan was unraveling. Elise's confession about Ryan's behavior had cracked his calm facade. He'd confronted Ryan, gotten nowhere, but now doubt festered. Why had Elise hesitated to tell him? What else was she hiding? He dug through her laptop, something he'd never done in their 10 years together, and found an email draft she'd never sent, dated weeks after that October night. "I can't stop thinking about it. We should have said no." Nathan's blood ran cold. The swap, had it meant more to her than she'd let on? He called her, voice tight. "We need to talk now." Elise, still shaken from the station, agreed to meet at a quiet park. But as Nathan waited, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A blurry photo of Elise at the police station captioned, "She's lying." Nathan's grip tightened. Was Ryan taunting him, or was there a deeper truth about that night? Elise arrived at the park, her eyes red from sleepless nights. Nathan didn't waste time. "What really happened that night with Ryan?" he demanded, holding up his phone. "And why's he sending me this?" Elise's breath hitched as she saw the photo. "He's trying to turn you against me," she said, voice breaking. "That night was a mistake, Nathan. I hated it. But, Ryan, he's twisted it into something it wasn't." Nathan wanted to believe her, but the doubt lingered, a poison seeping into their marriage. He agreed to wait for the police to handle Ryan, but as Elise drove away, she noticed a car tailing her, Ryan's Tesla weaving through traffic. Panic surged. She called Megan, whispering, "He's following me. I'm heading to the studio. Meet me there." Megan, already on edge, grabbed her keys and sped toward Elise's design studio, her mind racing. Would Ryan confront Elise alone, or was this a trap? At the studio, a chic loft with exposed brick and soft lighting, Elise locked the door and dimmed the windows. Her hand shook as she dialed 911, but before the call connected, a knock rattled the door. "Elise, it's me," Ryan called, his voice calm, almost tender. She froze, the phone slipping from her hand. "Go away, Ryan," she said, voice firm despite her fear. He knocked again, harder. "We need to talk. You owe me that." The doorknob rattled, the lock straining. Elise backed away, heart pounding as Ryan's voice grew darker. "You can't keep running." The door shuddered under a sudden blow. Had he kicked it? She scrambled for her phone, but the screen was black, battery dead. Footsteps circled the building, slow and deliberate, like a predator stalking prey. Was he looking for another way in? Megan arrived minutes later, tires screeching. The studio's front door was intact, but the back alley entrance hung open, its lock broken. "Elise!" she shouted, rushing inside. The loft was eerily quiet. Fabric swatches scattered across the floor. Elise's purse lay abandoned on a table, her phone beside it. Megan's breath caught as she noticed a trail of smudged footprints leading to a storage closet. She yanked it open, expecting the worst, but it was empty, except for a single silver necklace, identical to the one Ryan had sent Elise, coiled like a snake. A chill ran through her. Where was Elise, and what had Ryan done? She called Detective Hensley, voice shaking, and within minutes, sirens wailed in the distance. But as Megan stepped outside, she saw Ryan's Tesla parked down the street, its engine running. He was still here, watching. Why hadn't he fled? The police swept the studio, finding no sign of Elise. Hensley questioned Megan, her tone urgent. Did Elise mention anywhere she might go? Megan shook her head, guilt crashing over her. She should have stayed with Elise, protected her. Nathan arrived, his face ashen, and demanded answers. "Where's my wife?" he shouted, shoving past an officer. Hensley calmed him, but the truth was grim. Elise was missing, and Ryan was their prime suspect. A search of Ryan's car turned up a chilling find. A duffel bag with zip ties, duct tape, and a folded map of Briarwood, Elise's house circled in red. Megan's knees buckled. This wasn't just obsession. Ryan had planned something unthinkable. But where was he now, and where was Elise? Hours later, a tip came in. A neighbor had seen Ryan near an abandoned warehouse on Briarwood's outskirts, a derelict relic from the town's industrial past. Hensley led a tactical team to the site, Megan and Nathan following in a separate car, their silence heavy with fear and betrayal. The warehouse loomed in the dusk, its broken windows like empty eyes. Inside, the air was thick with dust and decay. Hensley signaled for silence as they moved deeper, flashlights cutting through the gloom. A faint sob echoed from a back room. Megan's heart leapt. Elise? They burst through a rusted door to find Elise bound to a chair, her face bruised, eyes wide with terror. Ryan stood over her, a knife glinting in his hand, his expression a twisted mix of rage and despair. "She was mine," he muttered, not noticing the police. Hensley shouted, "Drop it!" But Ryan lunged, the blade flashing toward Elise. A shot rang out and Ryan crumpled, blood pooling beneath him. Elise screamed, collapsing as Nathan rushed to her, cutting her free. In the aftermath, the truth unraveled like a frayed thread. Ryan's obsession had roots deeper than the swamp. Police uncovered records of a prior restraining order from a college girlfriend, a woman he'd stalked after a breakup, her face eerily similar to Elise's. The swap night had triggered something dormant, a fixation that spiraled into madness. Elise's rejection, her defiance, had pushed him over the edge. He'd planned to take her away, to start over, but his delusions crumbled under reality's weight. Megan's evidence, the burner phone, the journal, sealed his fate, though he'd never faced trial. The bullet had ended his life, but not the pain he'd caused. Elise survived, but the scars ran deep. She and Nathan moved away from Briarwood, seeking a fresh start, though their marriage bore the cracks of distrust. Elise threw herself into therapy, channeling her pain into advocacy for stalking victims, her resilience a quiet triumph. Megan stayed in Briarwood, alone in the house she'd once shared with Ryan. Guilt clung to her for agreeing to the swap, for missing the signs. But she found solace in helping Elise heal. Their friendship forged anew in the fire of survival. At night, she'd sit on her porch staring at the stars, reflecting on the cost of one reckless choice. Briarwood's polish had dulled, its secrets laid bare. For Megan, Elise, and Nathan, life moved on. But the echoes of that October night lingered, a reminder that some desires, left unchecked, burn everything to ash. Well, have you ever heard of a case like this? Comment your thoughts. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.